That you have mentioned Sticks, because I do want to talk about a memorable feud that you did have with him, and you began appearing in Progress, 2012, 2013, about that time, and in the early days of the company,
2014 to 14, yeah.
This is when it sort of built its identity, and you were in such a heated feud where you retired after losing a career versus career match against him at the Progress show, Chapter 16. And you had a fucking fantastic entrance, by the way. It felt like a WrestleMania entrance. It was amazing. If anyone, this was one of the times if you just pause and you've listened to this moment, go on YouTube, search it. I think it comes up. It's so awesome. Honestly, man. You just said
thank you. It was so cool. It was, I mean, that entrance was something I'd wanted to do for years. Ever since like doing the Bollywood character and stuff, I'd always wanted to do that kind of entrance. But you know, they never really found a company that could budget it or do it or give it any kind of justice. So you know, when we kind of got the opportunity to do it, I was jumped it wholeheartedly. I think if you literally type like RJ Singh into YouTube, it's like one of the first things that come up in your search. So definitely go check it out, because it's I'm so glad it's there.
It's awesome. It's so cool.
It's just so cool. It's like, it was. It's one of my.
They're all standing as well, the fans.
Oh, it was a phenomenal. It was a real phenomenal moment. So it was that is literally like one of the things. Like when I am finally done and dusted for good, like it would be one of the things that will always stick with me is just the entrance on that show.
If you can basically talk us through the build up and the match itself, because we just talked about the amazing the entrance, which loved it. But if you just basically talk in detail about the rivalry itself, because Sticks, who you've just mentioned, you've known as a friend and as an opponent, and someone you've been on the road with. But I just want to hear about it, how it happened, and how did you feel about it at the end?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I'd kind of come to a junction at that point. Lots of personal reasons why I was like, I think I will probably wrap up wrestling. And I kind of announced that in 2013 and kind of said, this will probably be my last year from like 2013 into 14. And even with some things that changed along the way, because obviously in between that and leading up to near the end, the TNA boot camp thing came up as well. And so, but I was still kind of like, no, I'm going to go. But I didn't really call it a retirement. And I even went back and looked this up recently. I never called it a retirement. But it's one of those things that kind of got turned into a retirement. I just kind of said at the time, I'm gonna go away for a while, and I don't know if I'll come back. So it wasn't the same as me saying I'm retiring. It's just saying I'm gonna go away, and I had lots going on personally. So I just thought, it's a good time to do it. Yeah. So I went and spoke to Progress and said, look, I'd really like to have my last match, which I think will probably be my last match. I'd like to have it in Progress, and I named 3 people. I thought, it's got to be one of these 3 people. One of which was Drake Maverick, but he was signed with TNA at this point. By this point, he was in Impact TNA / and so he was overseas. It wasn't going to happen. So I was like, well, it's got to be Sticks then. Like me and Sticks have been best friends for ever since we began wrestling. We were best men at each other's weddings. Like it's got to be Sticks. That's who it's got to be with. So. And so Progress jumped wholeheartedly into that. Like, let's do it. Let's build it up. We'll have this big argument at the end of this chapter, and then we'll roll it into the next chapter and have the match at that next chapter. So, and what was quite nice is that me and Sticks talked quite a lot about what was going to be said during that the heated promo, and we actually did another thing as well, which we did like a live YouTube thing, which hadn't been done before as well for Progress. We did the live YouTube thing, and we talked through that and just kind of let it go. But we kind of had a good chance to come together and talk about things, and sort of said, are you happy if I say this? And are you happy if I say, and we brought up some real life stuff. So like I brought up Styx's divorce and stuff, things like that, which was a real life thing that happened to him. I mean, he's happily married now, remarried, so it's fine. So but we were like, is it cool if we, should we throw this in? Should we throw that in? And, sort of, I think he said like, I might chuck in that, you get on shows because shows are trying to fulfill an ethnic stereotype and, stuff like that. So we were like, we really kind of went for it with some personal stuff that only best friends could get away with saying to each other and still being friends at the end of it. So and then kind of and it came, then we came to the show day, and Styx obviously played it out at the time. He played it out on social media like he could be retiring at the end of this as well. So we'd kind of built up that way, so it didn't just because obviously it was a bit more obvious that it was me who was retiring or going away, however you want to call it. Styx kind of played his part and said, well, actually, it could be me as well, and et cetera, et cetera. And obviously, in the meantime, I think doing the whole TNA thing coming up was good because that kind of threw doubt on it slightly. Yeah. They were like, well, it can't be RJ. RJ's just gone and done British Boot Camp 2 for TNA. It's not going to be him. He's not, so it was kind of, left it open. So, and so then we did, we had the match at the show, chapter 14, I think it was. And we had the match again. That definitely goes down on one of my favorite matches ever. It was a very it was all built on emotion. It was built on us knowing each other.
Like can't ask for a better venue or ground either. Like there's a ballroom in Camden.
Yeah, absolutely. Super hot crowd who were totally into it, who were totally bought into the story as well. And it was what as we record this, and this as we record this now, CM Punk has just debuted on AEW on Rampage, and that whole internet thing about the guy who's crying, they picture of a guy crying in the crowd, and this, and people saying, no, it's great, people crying, and obviously, I'm not saying this to blow my own horn, but at the end of that match, there were people in tears at the end of our match at Progress. I looked out into the crowd and I could see people in tears as well, and obviously I started welling up as well, and and that for me is why it holds a real deep place in my heart, because it was a match and that brought people to that kind of level of emotion. And I think if you can bring people to that kind of level of emotion, then you've absolutely nailed it on the head.
Real men cry, by the way, honestly. And in wrestling, I love that emotion. And I'm not saying everything has to be a shoot like Vince Russo style, but a hint of realism in your feud. But as two good friends as well, you can throw shade at each other, but have a beer afterwards or whatever. And for you to have that emotion, get the fans emotionally invested, and get some teardrops and yourself tearing up. That is wrestling.
The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com.
Currently the only two-time MLW World Middleweight Champion in history. What does that championship mean to you?
Oh, man. I didn't answer your fucking question.
I was going to... Yeah, I was like, okay, I'll ask it later. I was gonna ask it after. It's fine, but
I just thought about it because, I got so caught in talking about the house that I was saying, in dating with the guys, and I was like, fuck, I forgot about the question. But I got started in MLW. Anyway, they all got signed, and I was like, all right, I gotta fucking level myself up. So I hit MLW up, sent them my resume, every fucking thing, and it took a week, but I was every as I waited 3-4 days, and I was I messaged them a couple more times, hey, did you get to see? They were we know who you are, we're big fans. And from there, I signed, and the contract I signed, I was young, and so I got a better deal out of the renewal now. But that was just something, and they take good care of me. So it was something that was meant to happen. Everything happens for a reason. I was definitely meant to be there first.
Oh, definitely, mate. That's how I discovered you, and I think some of the shit that you do, mate, is just unreal. Your finisher and that springboard 450 splash, just fucking amazing. I appreciate it. Oh, it's so good, man. I'm not just brownie points, but I just have to acknowledge it. It's every time I see it, I'm just blown away. But I'll go back to the question that I had before, the praise. It was basically the only two-time champion in MLW in general. You are I just want to know, what does that championship mean to you?
Honestly, man, the first time around, it was COVID during the first title reign. So I was on a roll. We were getting things going. I was super excited about not only being a fighting champion, but learning as a fighting champion and testing myself against the best wrestlers. And I felt I didn't really get to test myself. I did, but then it was a year off, and me coming back testing myself again was with Leo. So lost the belt, and then gaining it back was awesome because it was pre-recorded. But when I watched it when it was on TV, I kind of forgot about the match. I remember starting the end in the beginning, but I forgot about the match. So the whole I got to watch that as a fan, and that shit was honestly, after watching that as a fan, I got to honestly see from a fan's perspective, watching it, and I was holy shit! I was goosebumps everywhere, numb. This is awesome. I haven't felt like that since I was really into it, backyard days, just starting wrestling. And like, because once you do it so much, bro, it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a normal, like, wrestling's just so normal. And that title win there just like reopened my love for wrestling. And so like, that's what the middleweight championship means to me.
But I actually want to go back on what you said about your tryout for Impact Wrestling, British Boot Camp Season 2.
Yes.
The first one was won by Rockstar Spud. Remember that? He was a bit of a dick on the show, but it worked. Got him over. And another wrestler was on there as well. That's what I mentioned. But yeah, no. But then in Season 2, you had like Grado, like the Buffet King. I just remember it. Like it was on Challenge. Was that the channel? Challenge?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was a Challenge.
Challenge? I forgot Challenge was a thing. Yeah. Is it still on, or am I just really just not in touch with anything?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I used to watch it all the time because that's where Impact was on, wasn't it? Like TNA was on Challenge. Since it's moved now. But I don't actually know if Challenge is still a thing. That's a good question.
Do you know what? I've never done this before, but I'm going to have to Google it quickly, and I'm going to keep recording because it's going to bug me, and I will forget later, and then it'll bug me over the weekend. Challenge
TV. Challenge TV still exists.
Apparently it does. Whoa.
Oh, okay.
First.
Okay.
No. Challenge is a British free-to-air television channel owned by Sky, and it's still around. It's got a Facebook page. Fair play, and it's none of it's past tense. The Chase is on later on if anyone wants to watch. It's on now, but who cares? Anyway, nice. So it's really random. Let's Challenge TV on. Right. Get back to the podcast. Podcast. I just completely botched that. Right. So, back to Impact Wrestling. So the tryout. So I just want to ask, how was that experience for you?
Amazing. Just amazing from start to finish. I was contacted sort of quite early on by Jeremy Borash and Spud. I'll forever call him Spud. I can't get used to calling him Drake Man. I used to call him Spud. They contacted me quite early and said, we're interested. You would really like you to be part of this. I'd actually met Jeremy Borash about a year or two before that at one of the Comic Cons that FWA did. Mm-hmm. So he knew who I was already, and then piecing it together. And I think it was for me it was a great experience because it was my first time kind of working within a TV environment, wrestling within a TV environment with like a proper director or proper producers, cameramen, lighting people, sound technicians, watching a TV program being put together. Yeah. For a wrestling show was really awesome. Obviously I was in a mix with a really great bunch of wrestlers, most of whom have really, if you look at actually the season 2, look at the success that season 2 candidates have gone on to have.
They're all pretty much heavily involved in wrestling and all in the
absolutely.
Dave Mastiff, Mark Andrews, Kaylee Ray.
So all of them hugely so pretty much just everyone except me. Everyone except me. That's really sad.
Forgot me and Challenge TV.
There you go. No, all incredibly deserving people. You look at the list of that. Like say Kaylee Ray, who's just gone on to NXT now, from NXT UK to NXT. Viper was in one of the early auditions, in the Scottish auditions. Viper, who didn't get picked up for the finals, but he obviously now is on Raw. As well. So which is amazing.
Was that on TV? I can't remember that Viper being.
Yeah. So she was one of the tryouts during the Scottish round when they were in Scotland. So and she didn't get picked to come through. Yeah. But she's obviously gone on to huge success, in Japan, and then NXT UK, and now on to the Monday Night Raw, which has been awesome. Noam Dar was in there as well. Like you say, Dave Mastiff, Rampage, all those guys as well. So there's a great crew of people who are involved in that as well. And everyone just wanted to do their absolute best, even though it's kind of one of those things where you're actually in competition with each other. You still all had to kind of work together and come together, and it was a great shared experience. And then we did the York Hall show. So on the Friday night. I did my kind of round on the Friday night. Was moved through to the Saturday finals, which was the London finals, and recorded that on the Saturday, which was obviously phenomenal. And then what was great is, as opposed to my debut match, in which I didn't have any very many family and friends, I invited all my family and friends to York Hall for the London finals of British Boot Camp too. I brought everybody. I was like, you know, I brought as many people as I could. So I had a really good like backing when I got there.
Cheer me.
Exactly. This is great. You know, so I mean, like my wife was there. Her parents came, and her aunt and uncle came as well.
Yeah,
load of school friends as well. It was brilliant. I had so much support, which was really awesome. I didn't make it through. Obviously, didn't go through from that round. That was where I kind of finished. But you know, I was just really upbeat. And you know, at the end, Gail Kim was like, "You're really upbeat for someone who's just been eliminated." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, "I just got to do this super awesome show at York Hall in front of my friends and family, and you've just paid me for it." Like, you know, what's?
Oh, you guys got paid for it? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
really?
you know, what's not to love? Yeah.
And yet, Samoa Joe, Al Snow, and Gail Kim as the judges. Like,
absolutely, you know, great feedback from them. Like some really useful pointers from them, which was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disclose how much I got paid, but it was one of the best paydays I've ever had in wrestling. So you know, you know, yeah, I'd no reason to go. And then I got on TV. You know, I was featured on TV for a couple of weeks. So you know, it was great. So that was, you know, and it also led to me being on Wrestle Talk TV quite a lot. So I was on, you know, around that time, I featured on about 4 different episodes of Wrestle Talk TV as well. So you know, I was getting my face on TV. It was a good time.
Yeah, sweet, man. Fun fact: I had an interview at Wrestle Talk. Went in for then I went for sort of a work experience day after. And then they went out of business like a few months. No, I was like, great. But you know, it is what it is.
The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com.